Alright, I'm using a new Sony point and shoot camera at 720p to do a test video. This is not a video that's going on YouTube. This is just for myself here to check to see how well it does and how long it will do it. We are going to physically move the camera on the tripod. And I'm using a flashlight here because I don't have decent lighting where I'm angling this chassis right now. So we're about 3 inches away from the components in the radio. And we're using a pointing stick here. We got a rotten rubber covered wire right here that comes up to the outside and goes to the coil outside to the back of the radio, antenna coil. And we got rubber coated wire all through here. And we're going to back out a little bit, trying to keep the light even. It's very difficult to do both. We're going to have to put the flashlight down, turn it off, and just give you a video like this, which I can still see plainly in the viewfinder. Quite good, even without the light. Let's put a light over here. And here's the volume control that has the unusual looking shaft here. All damn rubber covered wire. This is the line cord, which we're going to cut off of that. Damn flashlight. Alright, we got rid of that. We'll have to replace this, which is very bad. And we're going to get back into here again. See if we can. I have to put a flashlight on it again. See if we can get real close here. It should be close enough. I don't really get that any more closer than that with the JVC when I'm using it. This is the other end of that wire, but I can't tell where it connects in here. But I have a feeling it's underneath these rubber wires here, and I'm probably going to mess them up. There's all damn rubber wires all over here. So this is a test video, and we're not, as I said, doing the restoration now. Got to put the light out. I only got 2 hands here. And we'll stop the... Okay, handheld, of course, to give a close inspection. the area I want to see, I can't because it's too dark. Let's see if we get a little light in here and see if we can harsh shadows. Can't get good lighting. That black wire that's below the blue wire is very difficult. I can't do this on camera. I'm going to have to fish it out of there and try to add a piece to it. That has to be one of the first things I do on this radio. Let's examine the volume control here. And let's go down here. See if we can get you down here. And this flashlight keeps flickering. I have more trouble with flashlights flickering on me. All these little portable flashlights are all the same. They all do that after a while. Alright, I can't tell where that's connected, but it shouldn't be too bad. I got to remove these caps here. I'm doing this as more of a test on the Sony Steady Shot DSC W830 camera. 720p. This is a test just to see how it is coming out. Okay, so handheld here. In part one, we used the JVC. This particular video is done on the Sony. And let's examine the scuzz underneath here. Seems to be some and that's hardened. But the capacitor is not loose. We're not messing with that, but we are going to remove the tubes. Now, this wire I had to cut, it is cloth covered. Kind of crappy down there too. Let's take a look at the dial cord here. If I can. It don't look too healthy, does it? Damn light's uncooperative. We'll just do it without it. There's plenty of light. The camera's showing good light. I'm not going to attempt to do that one. I don't do dial cords. Yeah. Just an examination today. The last thing we put on here, or one of the last things, is the new power cord. There's continuity checks on coils like the IF cans, the audio output transformer, and so on and so forth. And we have a tag here. Can't read that. Rubber covered wire. There's no way I'm pulling IF cans. I will not disturb them. Rubber covered wires, I'll do the very best I can not to disturb them, even if it means not replacing the components that are needed to be replaced. The mica, and this looks like it's washed out here. Maybe better on video, but it looks better without the flashlight, I think. Can't seem to get good lighting on the videos at all. It's either too much lighting or not enough. But it looks good in the camera, so I would say it's good enough. All right, that's enough on that part of it. This is a 12SA7 octal tube. It's marked on the socket here. I'm reading upside down, 12SA7. Okay, you can see that. It's got some scuzz underneath this tuning condenser here, but one of the things we're going to do is test all the tubes. We'll spray CRC cleaner, like I always do. I have canned air also. I may do that first. I'll take this outside and blow it down, blow it with the air compressor and clean the chassis much as I can. And then we'll spray this with CRC cleaner, let it dry, and then we will, like I always do on all tuning condensers, is I oil the ball bearings down here, always. And then I shoot a little bit of lubriplate, the white grease, in there too. So these are things that will be done off camera, of course. We can remove that tube also. I normally don't work one-handed like this. I don't like doing it. Another octal tube. Let's see if I can read that. I can't see it. I cannot see it without a magnifying glass. It's a 12Q7. 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 And again, it's marked. Looks like it's a 12J7 there, though, isn't it? Doesn't that look like a 12J7? I'm going to do this off camera. It's a series wired set, of course. Just because it was made in the 1940s, early 40s, does not mean that they used a power transformer. There's a lot of sets that were made in those years that were series string. Electrolytic will be replaced, but it will be kept on the top of the chassis, and the new one will be put underneath. I suspect the 35Z5 is burned out. That's usually the first tube that will go in a series string set. The filaments usually go. Not all the time. That's not always the case, but in the majority of times, your 35Z5 or 35W4 or whatever the rectifier is for the series string radio, whatever one you're working on, is the first tube to go. Usually shorted electrolytic blows the rectifier tube. And being that it's series string, of course, because there's 12 volt tubes, 35 volt tube, and I think the schematic said 35L6, which would be here. So that's the case there. What really bothers me is the rubber covered wire. I will not attempt to disturb that. It's way too congested. But what I want to do is to remove all the tubes on this and clean it as much as I can. I'll blow it all out with the air gun after I get the tubes out. And get these tubes out of the way here so we're not have a problem damaging them. The speaker is in pretty sad shape. Now we're using this Sony camera, as I announced. What we're going to do on this, I know I said I wasn't going to put it on YouTube. This is for my own records, but you know what? I think we will call this part 2. And there will not be a component replacement or anything on this video, because this camera here, I can see my battery is already 3/4 down on this Sony camera. I only have the one battery for it. So we're going to go back to the JVC here for part number 3. So this is going to be a short part number 2, and it's also, unfortunately, is going to be a show and tell. So what I'm going to do now, and maybe I can get that into this before the battery is out, is we're going to remove all the rest of the tubes. We are going to make sure that the right tubes are in the right sockets. And then I'm going to clean this chassis, but I'm going to do that off camera. I'm going to try to clean up that gunk that's underneath the tuning condenser that you can see there. I'm going to do all that off camera. So to save battery, we're going to stop the video now and continue using this camera after I get the chassis cleaned, after I remove the tubes. I will not do the cleaning on video. I'll show you afterwards. I was wrong. It's a 12J7. I don't know what I was thinking of. And that is correct. That is the correct tube. We got a big problem here. I'm going to have to cut this wire off, because when I try to move this, the whole tube cap on the tube itself is turning. So if I break that off, I got to throw the tube out. Years ago, I used to have what they call tube base cement, and you used to be able to, if the wire was still coming out of the glass, you could solder it with the tube base cement and then stick it down and solder it. Don't have that stuff anymore. So I'm going to have to cut this off, and this is rubber covered wire, so I'm not getting into this can. I'll tell you right now, I don't do that stuff. So what I'm going to have to do, I'm going to have to cut this off, and I'm going to have to solder a new wire with the cap on the tube. I have no choice. I cannot risk that, and I cannot risk trying to put a screwdriver underneath this and prying it up. I will break the tube for sure. And then whether I have another tube or not, I don't know. So unfortunately, I can only get this tube out if I cut this wire. That's what I'll do off camera. So we're going to try to continue with this video on this camera, but I got to cut this first. If I try to spin that off, the whole cap under magnification here, I can plainly see that gently putting the pliers on this, it's very sharp to do it with my hands, and turning this to try to wiggle it off, the whole cap on the tube itself is turning. It's gonna break right off. It is going to break off. So we're going to snip that. We're going to remove the rest of the tubes, and I'll come back after I get the chassis cleaned as best I can. Great news. I put a little oil on the top, some machine oil, and very gently under a magnifying glass wiggled it just a little bit, and upward pressure, it came right off. So I do not have to do that. This cap is a little bit loose, but it's okay. So I can see my battery is very low on this Sony camera here. So this is going to be part 2. I wanted to do some component replacement in part 2, but I think we're going to be having a little problem with that, or quite a bit of problem with this rubber covered crap wire here. One of the first things I want to do is to replace this because it's shorting against the chassis here. So we'll get a piece of black wire, some Belden that I've got, 20 gauge or 18 gauge, I think it's 20, and we'll replace that. These are cloth wires. Unfortunately I had to cut it, but I think we're okay. I didn't have to cut this, and that's great because I'm so terrified of having to get into these IF cans. Okay, let me continue with this. We have our chart here, which so far everything is correct, but we got 4 more tubes we got to remove. So we're going to do that right now, and I'll get back. Okay, got the tubes out. All the tubes are correct. Every single one of them. This is my mistake on this here. But we've got a problem here that I don't know what happened. But this tuning condenser, the dial cord is not working, so that's nothing new. Let's see if we can turn it. The tuning condenser stops right here. It's hitting something. It only goes this far, and it only goes this far. That might be why the guy sold it to me. Push it down. I don't want to break it, but it absolutely does not move. So that's it. That's the travel of it right there. I can't see how the dial cord could be holding it, but it seems to stop right here. It might be the dial cord. There's nothing I can do about it if it is. It'll be a radio that, you know, is not going to be completely done. So I guess I could loosen this screw here. We don't want to take too much time. This battery's very low here. There's a set screw here. So why don't we back that off? We got nothing to lose anyways. Let's back that off and be right back. That gave me more movement. See, I loosened the screw, so this is not moving. But it goes all the way open. You can see the cheese slicer is completely open. Some call it the bread slicer. But it stops there. Okay. I put a little oil in the ball bearings here to give it a little more movement here. So it seems to be fine, and it dead stops right there. So it's going to be difficult for me to get under there without damaging this to clean the chassis. So what we're going to do on this video here is we're down to 1 battery bar now, and I do not have a backup battery. It'll take about 3 hours to charge this battery. So this is going to be the end of part number 2. It's going to be a while. The speaker repair or replacement, I don't have another 4-inch speaker. Years ago I had all that stuff, you know. Is going to be another, that'll be a part in itself. Okay, so we're going to end this video now. This is where we're at. We have no idea. I'm not removing this thing if I can help it. It seems to be clear under there. And this is a test for this camera. This is something I picked up at a thrift store at a very, very reasonable price. It's a 20 megapixel camera. Does 720p video only. Good snapshot camera. Got it real cheap. Not much more than a price for a cup of coffee. Okay, so that's it, folks, on this. We got to see if we can get this tuning condenser to close. I can't imagine what is stopping it, because it moves easy. See, it's all the way open, but it hits it. You can plainly hear it, and this is disconnected now. This is to back this off, so it's no longer affected by this. Okay, that concludes part number 2. We're going to get the video going here in Windows Movie Maker, I guess. I went to edit a video yesterday on the shuttle, and I was doing it, and I got 2 clips in it, and the shuttle just turned right off. So it's working now. I don't know why it went off. It just literally turned off, and the power was still going to the power supply. It could be the power supply. I do have another one right here. So we'll be putting that on, but we're not doing that right now. It's a big job getting in there and getting at the wires. Okay, so this concludes the end of part 2. It'll be interesting to see how the video looks and how big of a file this camera will make. Thanks for watching. This concludes part number 2. As I said, I originally wasn't going to start with part number 2 or anything for YouTube. This was a test originally. But it's alright. So again, you're not going to see the chassis clean, because I can't clean it until I can close this up, because I'm not removing this. Too many rubber wires underneath. The condenser's tight, so the rubber bushings are hard as a rock, but not a problem as long as the tuning condenser isn't dancing around. It is not dancing. It's not doing any dance at all today. That's it, folks. That concludes part number 2.